Okay, so today I'm gonna be talking about Juno, right? Juno, okay. So Juno is currently at 1 degrees in Aries. So it's cusping with the sign before it in Pisces, right? So Aries is fire, and fire is seeing a vision and acting on it. Water is feeling a feeling and creating an emotion because you held on to that feeling, right? So they both experience feelings, right? So when water experiences feelings, it soaks in it, it creates this illusionary world, and it's able to develop a psyche based off of that. So it knows exactly where emotions are stemming from, the root where the emotions are coming from. It's familiar with that world, right? So fire is more so about seeing and feeling. So you feel the feelings, but the feelings that you feel don't have a look, right? So fire is when you color that feeling so that you're able to see it, and you can do that through expression, right? So fire feels, sees, expresses, right? So fire is able to help water, and water is able to help fire, right? So fire helps water understand more of the importance of expressing. It helps to put that fire up under your ass, and to express right then, and to not wait, and to not procrastinate, and to just do it, right? And then water helps fire understand what emotions to actually hone in on, and what emotions that you don't need to express, and what emotions you do express, right? So it's differentiating between which emotions you keep to yourself, because this is all dealing with the internal realm. Fire and water all deals with internal. It deals with what's inside, right? So water helps fire remember, and reminds fire that there's things you keep to yourself that's for you and your internal, and there's things that you express and you put out there, but everything doesn't need to be expressed. Everything that you feel, everything that you see does not need to be expressed. Some things need to have an emotion created from it, so those are the things that you soak on. Some stuff you can just go out and just express as you do, but it helps, water helps differentiate between the two. So when water and fire come together, they are able to help each other. But when water fire comes together, it also creates steam, right? So we see steam whenever we put water in a pot and put it on the stove. We know the stove represents that fire aspect. When we turn on the stove, the eye comes on, the fire element, the heat is coming from that. The water is in the pot on top of the stove, right? So when you turn the stove on, you have that water inside of that pot on top of that eye, right? This is how water and fire comes together. So it starts to bubble, and you create that steam, and you see how the steam rises, right? So you can see how the steam rises, right? You see how the steam is rising, right? So when water and fire come together, it's important to know and understand the balance, right? Because when you are not paying attention to certain areas, and you're not doing things in a balanced way, this can create a sense of dryness, right? So the steam that you're developing, the water and the bubbling and the heat and everything like that, right? It's like it can create the dryness when it's too hot. When the stove is up too high, you got it on 10, you got it on 9, you got it on 8, or even if you have it at a lower temperature, but you just leave it on all day and kind of forget about it, is that pot is going to become empty. There's no more water, so now it's dry, right? And so when things are dry, sometimes they can hurt. If the pot had feelings, if the pot was a person or something like that, the pot would be experiencing a sense of pain because of how dry it is. And you can, even when you take the pot off the stove and you put it in some water for it to cool down, you feel some more stench, but steam, like a sense, right? I said steam and sense at the same time because I was thinking about the pot having actual feelings, but you know, senses, feelings, feelings and thoughts, 7 senses all together, you know. Eyes, hearing, taste, touch, hearing, eye, seeing, taste, touch, what's the other one? Seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching, thinking, and feeling, right? Hearing, seeing, tasting, touching, smell. That's it. Hearing, tasting, seeing, smelling, touching, thinking, and feeling. So that's 7 altogether. I'm gonna say it one more time, just in case. I just want to make sure that I'm saying this correctly, because I do think in a previous video I might have forgot one. So I just want to make sure to myself, you know, especially when I'm watching this video back, to learn from the stuff that I'm saying the stuff correctly, right? So we have 5 senses according to what we learned in school, but we really have 7 senses altogether. So we have taste, touch, see, hear, and smell. But we also have feeling and thinking as well. So that's a total of 7. Anyway, I was saying that because of what I was talking about reminded me of that. I was trying to say steam and sense at the same time. So then I started thinking about all the senses. Okay, so when that hot pot is coming off the stove after it's all dried up and you put it underneath the water, it's almost like that pot is feeling a sense of relief, of release, because it's no longer just hot and burning. It now can get the coolness from the faucet, and it's able to develop more steam, right? So okay, so another example of steam, when something is too steamy, when something is too high on steam, it can create dryness. It's just like when you might have dry lips, right? And it hurts, you know, so dryness can tend to hurt. So it's important to have balance whenever you're dealing with the fire and the water elements, right? Okay, so that's basically water and fire in a nutshell. Water and fire, when it comes together, they're both able to help each other. When water and fire comes together, they have separate separate elements going on, but they're both backed and supported by feeling, and it's all dealing with the internal realm, right? Okay, so this being in Juno, right? So Juno is basically like for the rest of your life kind of energy. Juno is long term. Juno is longevity, right? So Juno is like kind of like the energy that supports like a marriage. Like when you think about a marriage with someone, it's someone that you can envision yourself being with for the rest of your life. You know, like it's like a rest of your life kind of energy. There's this connection, right? So it's like one individual, they live their life, you know, they're connecting with life, the things in their life, their travels, they're accumulating certain things, right? One individual is doing that, another individual is doing that as well. They're doing this separately, right? So based off of them doing these things separately and living their life, they've accumulated and collected and connected things, right? So when these two individuals come together, they're able to connect with each other and connect with the things that they connected with before they came into each other's world and decided that they wanted to be in each other's lives for the rest of their life, right? So Juno is about that. Juno is about that marriage. Juno is about that connection. Juno is about that longevity, and Juno is about that long term, right? So it doesn't have to be about an individual person. It can be a person, place, thing, gift, talent, or attribute, things, whatever element, whatever area of life, whatever house that you have Juno in right now. So Juno, for everyone, we are all being influenced by Juno being in the FireWater cusp, right? So when Juno is in fire, and as I stated, Juno deals with longevity, and fire deals with intuition, and seeing, feeling and seeing, right? So That's basically, you see longevity. Okay, so fire also deals with creativity, it deals with expression, it deals with individuality, especially when it's in Aries. But I'm just going to talk about the fire aspect, Juno being in fire, right? So Juno being in fire, right? That's like longevity in your creativity. You see your creativity as being long term, something that you will be doing for the rest of your life. Your creativity, the way that you see, because we know that seeing is dealing with fire, right? So if there's darkness and there's a fire, fire is able to enlighten. So you're able to see based off of that fire. That's what fire is about, right? So when that's in Juno, and Juno deals with longevity, right? It's like you long-term longevity, your creative expressions, your creative intent, your individuality. You see yourself thinking about that, being in that, acting on that for long term, for the rest of your life, and can't nobody tell you differently about that. So it doesn't matter if you're getting a positive result, if you're getting a constructive result, if it doesn't even have to look like it works out for you at all, but that's something that you see yourself doing for the rest of your life, and you don't give a fuck about the results that come with that. So that's just the world that you're in, and that's where you see longevity, and it is what it is, right? So it's important to have balance when you have Juno and fire in your natal in general, but also Juno and fire with the energy and the influence that's affecting us all. It's important to have balance, because yeah, of course, that's good. It's good to not be moved and able to be shaped and persuaded otherwise, especially when it comes to our creative expressions and our creative attributes and our individuality and the way that we see the world, because you can just see that that's not anything based off of validation. You're not doing what you're doing because you want recognition, or you want to be seen a certain way, or you're doing this because that's how you see yourself, and that's it. It doesn't matter if anybody comes to your show, it doesn't matter if anybody pays for whatever or supports anything. That's what you're doing, right? But when you're on earth, it's important that you have a sense of understanding the groundedness, the practicality, and the logic that comes with being on earth in general, right? So it can't just be that and that's it, and you not having an understanding of all of the other areas and all of the other aspects of life. And you can transform the way you're seeing your creative expression, your individuality, and the way you see the world by that energy that you're so opposing of. You can try to incorporate that in certain senses and doses into what you're not comfortable with, what you're not familiar with. Like, you might not be comfortable with you might not be comfortable with your creative expression and your individuality, people having something to say about that, especially because you're going to do it whatever the case may be. Doing the things that might be uncomfortable could be something that could help you balance Juno being in fire more. If you're so fixated in one area of just your longevity, your creative expression, your individuality, and the way you see in the world, just being that, and you see it long term, maybe try to see it in short term or something. Like, you have to kind of create this sense of balance where it can't just be all about that, right? You have to learn and you have to understand that life is about being grounded, and it's about the practicality that comes with certain aspects. And of course, creativity is the most important. Thinking how we feel, about our creativity, the things that we have on our mind, the world that we're developing, right? But we can't just be in this bubble, in this world, all by ourselves. Teamwork make the dream work in all realms and realities, right? So you have to understand that sense of balance, right? That's Juno in fire. When Juno is in water, right? Water, as I stated, Juno is about longevity. Juno is about long term. Juno is about that connectiveness. Juno is about that marriage. Juno is like what you feel married to. It doesn't have to be a specific person or human being. Juno is about what you feel married to. You could be married to the streets. You could be married to the hustle. You could be married to money. You could be married to your art. You could be married to food. Whatever the case may be, this is what you feel married to, what you feel connected to, and what you see long-term longevity. Can't nobody change that long-term things because it's you, right? So when you have Juno in water, right, that's like you having a state of being, you having one state of being, whether good or bad, and you being in that state of being for long term, for longevity. It's just that one state of being, right? State of being, right? So it can be good or it can be bad, but either way, it can play out stagnant, mundane type of energy. When you are just in that one state of being, you can manifest the same kind of similar experiences and scenarios, people, places, and things. So it's kind of mundane, and we know that life is about developing new experiences, living